Hi, Mark Devine, Managing Director of LJ Hooker Hobart.
And Julie Barwick, Head of Department in Property Management, LJ Hooker Hobart.
Today we just want to talk to you a little bit about what's been well publicised in the rental market. That is that there's a very scarce amount of vacant properties. For our portfolio at the moment, that's sitting just over 1%. And what that's leading to is a degree of frustration from tenants who seem to be missing out when they're making applications for properties. So with Julie's experience of over 20 years in property management, I thought it would be useful to just fire some questions off to Julie and get some insight into how you can best prepare yourself when you're making an application for a property. So Julie, what seems to be the common mistake that people make when making an application?
Well, Mark, the common mistake is not being prepared with all their documents, not having all their information available readily, and also contacting previous landlords, current landlords, to let them know that we may be contacting them.
And when people are making an application, what is the minimum supporting documentation that people need to have organised?
Well, tenants need to be able to prove that they can afford the rent, they can pay the rent, and that they can look after the property. So basically the information that we require is proof of that. So the more information the better. If they've got a couple of people who can vouch for them, previous landlords, current landlords, that certainly helps the situation.
Proof of income is important?
Proof of income is important, as well as ID. They need to prove who they are. Proof of income could be a paycheck, or it could be a Centrelink statement.
So in that application phase, if they're a first-time renter and they haven't got history, haven't been paying rent, is that a hurdle for people?
No, not necessarily. Of course, they do need to be 18 to sign a lease. They might be able to have somebody who can vouch for them, maybe a work colleague who's seen how they live, a family friend. We don't always ask for family, of course. But yeah, if they've got a little bit of information that way, that certainly helps the cause as well.
In making an application to rent a property, is it a given that the people would have inspected the property before they can make an application?
Yes, most agents will not accept applications without the tenant viewing the property. There's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason, of course, is that they want to be moving into a property that they will be happy in for at least 12 months, if that's the term that they're applying for.
Okay. And once the tenants have actually made an application, what's a reasonable turnaround time to expect for a decision?
We like to get back to tenants as soon as we can. The only thing that will hold us up is if they haven't given us all the information, or we can't get hold of contacts. The biggest frustration in checking applications is not being able to get hold of the people who they say that will be vouching for them.
Providing the references.
Yeah.
And with tenants being a bit frustrated, there's possibly a tendency for people now to be applying for more than one property.
Yes.
Is that encouraged, a good thing or a bad thing?
Yes. Of course, we expect the people, if they see a couple of properties, that they will be applying for them. Of course, it would certainly help our cause if we know that they are also applying for other properties, and especially if they have already been approved for another property, then we can stop our work on that particular application and move on to the next one.
Okay. And on the assumption that we've progressed through the application phase, tenants have been notified that they're successful, what's the next step in the process for them?
The next step in the process would be to actually sign a lease, whether the property might not be available for 2 or 3 weeks, but we certainly do encourage people to sign a lease, then the property is definitely theirs.
Okay, great. Thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.